Hi folks, welcome to CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. Brand new episode, but a car that you've seen before, that is the Toyota Camry. Now, there's a reason we've brought it here, of course, and it's the segment as a whole that's not as hot as it used to be 2 years ago, right? Well, it doesn't help that car makers are only bringing in petrol-only cars, though Toyota says that the Camry is already picking up a fair amount of traction in the market. Now, what about the fact that it is petrol only? Well, that means it only has one real major rival. And that, of course, is a car that we have right here. It is also a petrol-only offering, the Sonata from Hyundai. Well, they're saying a mere 5 rupee price increase in diesel prices will have them flocking back to petrol models anyway, aren't they? Well, fickle as that sounds, the truth is that there is more on offer at the petrol end of things in this space. The Honda Accord ruled the roost for years before crashing down in flames, metaphorically speaking, of course. And now you have the very stylish and sexy Sonata, as well as the luxurious and opulent Camry, looking to earn that crown. Hyundai's problem has always been trying to capture any share of the larger cars. The new 5th generation Elantra, though, we are told, is racking up some pretty good numbers, which bodes well for big sister Sonata too, which has seen some interest, no doubt. The 7th generation Toyota Camry, on the other hand, is large, stately and everything a saloon wants to be. Comfortable and spacious, well appointed and attractive. Well, attractive enough anyway. Now, I know that looks are purely subjective, but for me, in the styling department, hands down winner. The Sonata, I mean, just look at it. It's got that whole fluidic sculpture thing going on, sharp line around the side, very inspired by BMW. But we've talked about all of these things, haven't we? And the car looks agile, looks very sexy, very contemporary and modern. Even in the face, the way the front grille has been done, while it is sporty, it is also fairly upmarket with all that chrome. Now, speaking of chrome, this is very upmarket too, and I think that's the intention from Toyota. The idea is to, in fact, try and go really sort of swanky with this car. And so, if not the face, you definitely get to see that on the side, because the car is literally huge and it implies that size too. And so they are indeed different. The battle would have been even and more obvious if Toyota had indeed brought us the US version of the Camry, as it had done in the past with the previous 2 generations. Called a mid-size sedan in America, the Camry competes for volume and not necessarily for style or class alone. So you remember it was just a few weeks ago that we showed you the brand new Camry from Toyota in the Indian market, and at the time I told you it's the same platform, but it's a little bit different to the Camry that has been launched in the US a few months ago. Well, guess what? We're actually going to show you the US Camry really quickly, just to emphasize where it's different. The face, of course, instantly tells you it's different. Now, this car looks a lot more like perhaps a grown-up or a bigger version of the Corolla. It has a similar sort of a stance in front, a lot sportier looking really if you think about it, and the headlamp cluster, lots of chrome in the front grille. Of course, the blue Toyota logo tells you that this one is the hybrid as well that I'm driving today. But that's not the point I want to talk about. It's the styling really. At the side, it's pretty much Camry territory, not very different, similar sort of a wheelbase. But again, when you come to the back, you'll once again pick up hints of not just the old Camry, but again the Corolla family. So it's a little sportier, it's more compact, it's not as luxurious or as well laid out as the one that we get. Remember, the whole focus of the one we get now is to be more luxurious. And so this one, a mid-size car here in the US, not a full size as we call it. And so it is just about being practical, easy to use, convenient, and just a all-round family car, not really a luxury offering. Thought we'll just show it to you. So in India, what we see is more Lexus LS-like in terms of styling, with a different kind of focus from the American Camry. The Indian Camry wants to get the attention of the CEO, the successful entrepreneur, or indeed even a housewife, basically anyone who wants to be driven around in style. I very reluctantly got into the back seat here because that is the kind of target consumer for Toyota, if you will. And so I have to say that it is a nice opulent sort of a feel at the back, nice big drop down armrest, good materials, colors, all of that works. It's not the most comfortable seat, but overall, you've got a lot of space, and I think that focus definitely comes through. Now, having said that, it's not as if the car isn't good to drive. It's a nice car to drive. It actually is fairly powerful, and even though there is no manual option, the automatic transmission, again, it's a new upgraded transmission, and it is definitely smoother. And in fact, smooth is the kind of sense you get really from this car, because when you're driving it in city traffic, it's quite all right too, but it really comes alive on the highway. It's very smooth, very fast, very quick sort of a car, and it's the suspension settings that the engineers have worked on. I think that work really comes through, because the car seems to really glide whichever seat you're sitting in. It's a very different character that emerges when you drive this car next. And this one has to be driven. The Sonata is one of the strong rivals for the Camry in the US too, though it doesn't match the kind of volumes Toyota gets due to the popularity of the hybrid Camry. And the Sonata is also seen as a value offering and isn't as feature loaded as the one we get in India. Now, the past Sonatas, by comparison, used to be pretty indifferent and pretty soft as well, because this car is most definitely a driver's car, and I think it's been designed as such. It's a USP that certainly stands out, and I think it helps it in a sense, because it's one of the few cars in this segment that can really boast of those kind of credentials. Now, I know that's not important in our market. In our market, most people are going to be back there. Now, this car caters to that as well by, throwing in a few goodies like ventilated seats, etc. So that will get some people's imagination, but I firmly believe that this car needs to be driven. This is the correct seat to be sitting in, and it's why it does well in markets like the United States. Handling is pretty decent, power and performance is really good, and that 6-speed manual gearbox, what a pleasure. So it's fun and fairly sporty. Fatter tires would have helped, but on the whole, I have to admit, the car surprises. Now, the last gen Sonata was also not bad to drive, but this one seems to entice you with its design appeal and sways opinions somewhat more strongly in its favor as a result. I do believe Hyundai has lost a golden opportunity though to also launch some entry-level variants like it offers in the US. Offer this car at 16.5 or 17 lakh rupees, and you'd give even the Jettas and Corollas a run for their money. But Hyundai seems content with flagship status rather than volumes for the Sonata in India, which is why perhaps there's no diesel too. Toyota too seems to think similarly, because the one variant on the Camry is all bells and whistles. The only downer for me is that while the touchscreen multimedia interface is feature-rich, it looks a bit gimmicky and aftermarket. But it is the same on the US Camry too, so it's not a for India only item. A sunroof would have been a nice touch too, but the instrument cluster, steering controls, the use of wood and the color palette certainly make this very appealing, especially to Indian buyers. I do believe we will see more variants of the Camry later, and that could even include the hybrid way down the line. So the Sonata is for the young-hearted who want to scream sexy and yet enjoy the trappings this segment is known for, while the Camry is undoubtedly the sedan to have if you want to pull up in stately elegance and comfort.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app, fully optimized for retina display, full screen view, faster response time, and Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.